Welcome to GTC's Teaching Tidbits. Each episode, we explore a teaching technique, tip, practice, or idea from faculty for faculty. In our current set of episodes, we're focusing primarily on tips that relate to teaching hybrid blended or fully online courses. And today we have joining with us from Humanities, Shannon O'Bryan. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, everybody.
We're glad to have you today, Shannon. Would you tell us just a little bit about your background and the courses and the formats in which you've taught?
Yeah, sure. So I've been teaching for 20 plus years. I've been with tech since 2004, full-time since 2008. And I teach hybrid, I teach online, and I teach face-to-face. And primarily I teach world history, and I teach all the other histories, but primarily world history and leadership through the humanities.
Thanks so much, Shannon. I'm excited to have you on our episode today. I recently heard you speak at the PD Day session and then again in the Success Check webinar, and your topic specifically really speaks to the needs that we have and the things we've been focusing on when it comes to hybrid blended and fully online courses. So for those of you watching, Shannon has been sharing about a new technique that he's adopted and been trying out in communicating with his students, what he calls weekly nudges. So Shannon, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your teaching tidbit.
Sounds great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody. There we go. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to do was I really wanted our students to have a gentle nudge back in to get on track, to remind them of success and to be more motivated in my class. And so I came up with this idea of the weekly nudge, a gentle way of trying to help them come back into the class, typically follow up with assignments, stay engaged. And the idea was in doing that, maybe it would impact retention. And I'm probably like most of you, if you're an instructor here on campus, I offer a lot to my students. I offer them a Google Calendar that's completely detailed. I send out weekly announcements. I send out emails, reminders about attendance before and after they've missed, and also anything with dropping grades. And I try to use Civitas. I used to use Starfish when we had that. But the idea was, even when I didn't have all of that, I would still send an email out to each one of the students, trying to kind of prompt them and get them going. And there for a while, I did that just at the beginning, and then I went to the middle of the semester, and then finally to the end, trying to see if I could find some way. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. And so that became kind of problematic. And then, of course, last spring, when the pandemic hit, it was kind of chaos for everybody, moving from online. Well, the online classes were fine, but the moving from face-to-face to online and trying to kind of create an atmosphere that students could hopefully jump back into, and that we could keep going. And the problem was that so many of the students' engagement lacked. In fact, many of them just kind of dropped out. They stopped coming, and I would send them emails and realize that maybe in the process, I'm the one who dropped the ball. And what I mean by that is I was trying to run a class the same way, not realizing that maybe times have changed, delivery has changed, and I needed to maybe do some things that were going to help the student out, not just help myself out. And so as I began to do this, I decided that what I would do is kind of immerse myself in Collaborate in Zoom, trying to figure out how I could better serve my students. And what I figured out was that maybe, just maybe, I could help my students by jumping into the culture of the day, which is, the brevity of Twitter, 140 characters, right? They are all about that. And then, of course, TikTok, which is this idea of these videos. And I thought, well, what if I shared something that was really brief, that was maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes long, that they could watch, that they could try to understand, that wasn't just something typed out. And I think students are really good at ignoring lots of emails and messages that flood in towards them, but they will stop to watch a video, especially if it's only a couple minutes. And that's actually what we started doing. And most of the time, I think the videos at the beginning were about 4 to 6 minutes for the beginning of class. But typically, most videos are 2 minutes, maybe 3 at max. And I was actually shocked at how much information I could get in to that time. Plus, I could share my screen, which was excellent. The other thing that we dealt with is this idea of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. I could do a lot extrinsically to help them, but how do I get them to buy into the course and want to do this? And I thought this is also an excellent way for them to see that I care about them. And that's really about intrinsic motivation, is showing the students that you care about them and that you really want to help them. And I think sometimes an email or a message doesn't do that for you. So maybe a voice, and that's exactly what I heard and what I saw. And it really was about focus and drive, and it seemed to kind of spark their focus back into the class and drive them back. And so this is actually what it looks like in my course, and I have one every week. And one of the things that I do that's consistent is I send it out on Monday at about the same time. And I also noticed that when I first came in, I was doing it, I would just send the link. And I was getting hits on the link, but I wasn't really seeing anything else that was important. And so when I started to add just a list of contents that might be in the video or that was included in the video, and sometimes it's not all the content that's in the video, but just an idea, then students were like, oh, wow. Okay, this is something I've been wanting to know more about. He's reminding me of this. And so it sparked in them something maybe that they had wanted to talk to me, maybe forgot about or whatever. And so anyway, long story short is I started to make sure that not only have the link, but some kind of prep at the beginning, and it worked beautifully. And so I did my 104 W02 and my 105 W20. And these are 2 classes in which I really heavily, I have some face-to-face courses, but these are the classes that were heavily used. And what I saw was when I took this data down, I had 27 of 30 students. I might lose 10 students because of the 14-day rule. I only lost 3, and it wasn't really because of the 14-day rule, which means that it was working 90%. And then, of course, in the Flex Start W20 class, 20 class, this is when I only lost 1 student. Normally, at the beginning of these Flex Starts, students just don't show up, and so they were actually connecting. They were making this, and I ended up getting some really great responses. And there's just a few of them, and I won't read all of them, but I will read the first 2. I'm sorry, I thought I'd forgotten the class preliminaries, crazy week, right? Funeral. I mean, this person had tons going on, and they just forgot. And so they said, I saw the link, I listened to it, it was great. I got to actually have a dialogue with a student, and they were in, and the grades are a lot better. And then, of course, Chelsea says, I think I completed it right now. She didn't realize she didn't have everything. So it was just a matter of not understanding, maybe missing a point. So she came back in. So that ended up working out great. So some tips for this process, and I'm happy to help anybody. You can email me at, I guess you'll probably put the email down in there, but you can email me, ask me about how I go about doing this. It really is quite simple using Blackboard Collaborate. You can consolidate the work across multiple sections. And what I end up doing is I keep the calendars the same for all my world histories, whether it's part 1 and part 2. And what I end up doing is I do 1 nudge for all of them for the week. So that's like 3 of them all at once, which doesn't take a lot of time. And then, of course, you want to make sure that the recordings are public. This is something I had to learn. I was putting them into YouTube and then having to use YouTube. It took me a long time to do that. But once I realized that you can go into Blackboard Collaborate, and under the little bars on the left, you can actually share the recording, which was super. And by doing that, then I could share whatever I recorded in one session, I could share into 3 or 4 sessions because it was public. And then lastly, add that message, add some message to the link, not just the link, and it's better. And so I really think that that's important. So anyway, that's my weekly nudge, and it's worked for me. I hope it works for you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. You've given us so much to think about here. What a great idea. That's really thinking and speaking to where the students are at. I also love that you showed that you're not just doing the link, you're giving them that little menu of here's what's in the video, which again, as you've shared, then you see they're more likely to watch it because they know what's in there. So some great tips here. And I love that this is the kind of thing that whether you prefer Blackboard Collaborate or you're more of a Zoom person, you can do the same thing in Zoom. They're very similar. So this is a really achievable task for faculty to do. Actually, something I want to try out soon as well, now that I'm aware of it. That's going on my list of things to try moving forward. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. If you would like to continue the conversation with Shannon, as he said, feel free to email him at shannon.o'brien@gvltec.edu. And of course, if you have questions that you'd like answered or topics you'd like to see covered in the series, please let me know, rachel.cobb@gvltec.edu. That's this week's GTC Teaching Tidbit, and we will see you next time.